everyone, this is Marika and welcome back to another session of Community Health Nursing. In our previous sessions, we have discussed about waste, what is waste management, how do we manage solid waste, what are the sources, causes of solid waste, how dead bodies are disposed. We've also spoken about marriage system, custom and taboos, and recreation and sleep. In this session today, we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, which is hygiene. Hygiene is one of the important aspects for all human beings, right? Hygiene, as nurses for us, hygiene plays a major role and we know how important hygiene is. Let us see in detail what is hygiene, how we should maintain hygiene, how we should take care of our hair, our nails, eyes, ears, how we should maintain our personal hygiene as well as environmental hygiene. Before we understand the steps involved in maintaining hygiene, we have to understand what is hygiene. Hygiene can be referred to as practices that is adopted by humans in order to preserve as well as maintain the health. Hygiene is the process in which we practice certain activities in order to keep ourselves clean, in order to maintain the cleanliness of our bodies. And why is it necessary for us to keep ourselves clean or to keep our bodies clean? In order to make sure that we maintain our health, in order to make sure that we preserve our health. So hygiene can be referred to as practices that are adopted by human beings in order to make sure we preserve and maintain our health. Let us now see what are the aspects of hygiene. There are majorly two aspects of hygiene, which includes personal hygiene and environmental hygiene. Before we move on to personal hygiene, let us understand what environmental hygiene is. Now, as the term suggests, environmental hygiene is a process of maintaining the cleanliness in the surrounding of the person. An environment of a person can be described as the immediate surrounding of the person, which includes the living as well as non-living materials. Therefore, environmental hygiene is maintaining the cleanliness in the person's environment. Environmental hygiene is not our personal thing. It is about humans' external environment. Of course, environmental hygiene is not concerned with our bodies keeping ourselves clean, but keeping the environment that we live in clean. Under environmental hygiene, we have again two different aspects that includes domestic environmental hygiene and community environmental hygiene. Again, from the term itself, you must get an idea what is domestic environmental hygiene and what is community environment hygiene. Domestic is concerned with our own house, inside the house, right? Maintaining the hygiene in our homes, proper disposal of waste, living free of pests, rats, or any kind of insects in the house, and hygienic storage and cooking of the food. Domestic hygiene involves all those steps that are carried out by the person inside the home, which includes disposal of the waste, which includes living in a house that is free from any kind of insects, rats, rodents, etc. And also hygienic storage of the food as well as cooking and consumption of the food. Domestic hygiene is obviously one of the most important aspects in one's life. It is not about just keeping ourselves clean. It is not just about maintaining our personal hygiene, but the place that we stay in, the place that we live in must be hygienic, must be clean in order to make sure that our health is maintained or preserved. Therefore, domestic hygiene must be maintained properly. Proper disposal of waste must be done. The house must be cleaned regularly in order to make sure that there are no any kind of insects or rats in the house. Food must be stored properly and it must also be prepared in the hygienic manner. The next one that we have is community environmental hygiene. Community environmental hygiene, of course, as the name suggests, is outside the house of the person. We all already know what a community is, right? So outside the house of the person in the community, how clean is the community also affects the health of an individual. Therefore, the environmental hygiene is not only concerned with maintaining the cleanliness inside the house, but also in the communities that we stay. In community hygiene, we have proper disposal of waste and sewage, air, and control of air and water pollution. I hope you've understood what environmental hygiene is. Environmental hygiene is maintaining the hygiene in the person's environment. What is an environment? An environment is the immediate surrounding of a person, which includes not just the living things, but also the non-living things. Now, environment must be safe, it must be clean in order to make sure that our health is maintained. Therefore, environmental hygiene has to be maintained. And under environmental hygiene as well, we have two different aspects, which is domestic environmental hygiene and community environmental hygiene. In the domestic environmental environmental hygiene, we must maintain the hygiene inside our homes. Waste must be disposed properly. House must be cleaned on a regular basis in order to make sure that there are no insects or rats that cause any kind of disease, and also a hygienic storage and preparation of food. We have to maintain the hygiene, the cleanliness in the community in order to make sure that the community is safe for us to live and our health is maintained. Now that we've understood what environmental hygiene is, let us move on and discuss about personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is a very familiar term. We hear about it very often. So what is personal hygiene? Personal hygiene are those practices which are adopted by human beings which helps the person to maintain their health, which helps the person to keep oneself clean and also preserve their health. Personal hygiene includes cutting our nails, washing hands frequently, taking bath, keeping our hair, eyes and ears clean. Personal hygiene will not just help the person to be physically fit, but it will also help in the emotional, social and spiritual well-being of the person. We feel energetic, we feel happy, we feel motivated to do something when we are clean, when we feel fresh. Therefore, personal hygiene is very important and it includes various practices that are adopted by people in order to keep oneself clean. Let us see what all aspects are included in personal hygiene. Personal hygiene includes care of skin, care of hands and nails, care of hair, hygiene of bowel and bladder, and finally care of eyes, ears, nose and mouth. So personal hygiene can be defined as certain activities that are done by human beings, that are adopted by human beings in order to keep themselves clean. Personal hygiene includes various different aspects such as, now let us understand what is the objective of personal hygiene. Why do we have to maintain personal hygiene? What is the major objective of personal hygiene? The very first objective of maintaining personal hygiene is in order to keep our body clean, right? In order to keep ourselves clean, we need to maintain personal hygiene. The second objective of personal hygiene is to maintain the physical strength in human beings. So as I said, when personal hygiene is not maintained, we feel sick, right? We feel uncomfortable. We don't feel the strength. We don't feel energetic to do anything. Therefore, in order to maintain good physique and good muscle strength, personal hygiene must be followed. The next objective and major objective of personal hygiene is to maintain health and prevent infection. So personal hygiene will help to maintain the health of an individual as well as prevent oneself from any kind of infection. These are the major three objectives of personal hygiene. Let us move on and discuss principles related to hygiene. The very first principle says that good hygienic practices are learned. There are different things that we do in order to maintain our personal hygiene. There are different practices that are adopted by people in order to maintain the personal hygiene. And the very first principle says that good hygienic practices are learned by individuals. So from our childhood onwards, we learn how to maintain our body. We are taught about how we should maintain our health. We should cut our nails, we should comb our hair, we should take bath daily. So these are all various steps in maintaining the personal hygiene of an individual. Therefore, good hygienic practices are learned behavior. The second principle says that hygienic practices vary because of cultural norms, knowledge, and also personal values and ability to keep cleanliness. So for every different community, every different custom, there is a different hygienic practices that they follow. Some people, for example, believe to take bath early in the morning as they have to offer prayer to God, whereas some people believe in taking bath in the evening. So for every cultural norms, there are different set of belief, and hygienic practices also varies from one cultural norms to another cultural norms. It also depends on personal ability and value of the person to maintain the hygiene, as well as it depends on the knowledge of the person. So how much knowledge do I have about personal hygiene? How much aware I am about how personal hygiene can help us maintain a good health? So all of these factors will contribute to the personal hygiene of an individual. The third principle of personal hygiene says that skin is the first line of defense against any kind of infection in our body. So skin is the outermost layer of our body, right? Any kind of infection, any kind of injury that happens to the skin first. Therefore, skin is the first line of defense for any kind of injury or infection. And finally, the last principle of personal hygiene says that health of an individual and its care requires nourishment, fluid intake, exercise, etc. So to maintain the health, we have to maintain our personal hygiene as well as we have to take care of other requirements of our body as well. Let us move on and see how we should take care of different parts of our body. Let us start with the skin. As I said, the skin is the first line of defense against any kind of injury or infection. Therefore, the skin has to be cleansed properly. We should never take bath after a full meal. So taking bath must be avoided after having a full meal. The second thing to remember while taking care of our skin is that special care must be taken while we cleanse our body areas such as thighs, etc. Especially where skin foldings are found, such areas have to be focused properly and cleaned properly. The next point to remember is that in case of any kind of skin diseases such as scabies, taking bath in swimming pools, river or lakes must be avoided. So of course, scabies is a communicable disease. Therefore, from one person it might transmit to another person with the use of swimming pool. Therefore, that must be avoided. Let us now see care of our hands and our nails. The first thing to do to maintain the hygiene of our hands is to wash our hands frequently and especially before consuming anything as well as after using the toilet. The nails must be cut short. We know how much microorganisms nails can harbor. Therefore, the nails must be kept short. And another thing is that we should not only look for the hygiene in our hands and the nails in our hands, but also the nails in the toes must be trimmed properly. Nails must be kept short and must be trimmed properly. Now, let us see how should we take care of our hair. The very first thing in care of hair is that hair should be washed frequently according to the dust that we find in the atmosphere. Hair should be washed regularly according to the dust that we find in the atmosphere. So hair should be cleansed properly and frequently in order to make sure that we do not have any kind of dust or any kind of we do not have any kind of dust. We do not have oh my god. The hair should be washed frequently in order to maintain the hair hygiene. The next thing to do is to massage the scalp on a daily basis in order to improve the blood circulation as well as to comb the hair on a regular basis in order to maintain proper blood circulation. And finally, in case of any kind of lice in the hair, the treatment must be taken properly. If in case anyone is having lice, they must undergo an anti-lice treatment. Hygiene for bowel and bladder. We already know that waste materials are excreted through bowel and bladder. Therefore, it is a good habit to have a regular bowel as well as bladder elimination. And if the person is not having a proper bowel and bladder movement, then it must not be overlooked. It must be taken care of. Now let us see how to take care of our eyes. Eyes are considered to reflect the physical health and therefore utmost care must be taken of the eye. The eyes must be protected from dust and any kind of injuries. The next one that we have is care of ears. So as we know, ears are to be kept clean. The outer part of the ear can be cleaned with water and soap, and if there is presence of earwax, it must be removed properly because it may result in hearing difficulty. The next one is maintaining the nose and mouth hygiene. So nose must be cleansed properly in order to remove any kind of mucus. Also, as we breathe, we might have various different kind of things that might go inside our body through the nose. So therefore, nose must be cleansed properly and hygiene of the mouth must be maintained. Proper dental hygiene has to be maintained by brushing the teeth regularly, regular dental checkup, diets, habits, as well as using fluorides. So these are the various ways through which we can maintain our personal hygiene. That is it for today's class. It was a very short and an interesting topic and I hope you've understood the topic. To summarize, today we have discussed about hygiene, under which we have discussed about two different aspects of hygiene, which includes the environmental hygiene and the personal hygiene. We've learned about how to take care of our eyes, nose, mouth, ears, our hair, skin, nails and hands. I hope you've got a better idea about the topic and I'll see you all in the next session where we will discuss about I hope the class was helpful and I'll see you all in the next session where we will discuss about family structure. Thank you and have a great day ahead.